The World Baseball Classic is officially underway. We've got a baseball heavy show for you today. What is up, everybody? My name is Levi. This is Coast to Coast Sports, and let's get into things, guys. First, I want to talk about these two, Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer. Both of them are confirmed to be returning to the MLB for the 2026 season, and this is cool. I mean, they're clearly not the players they once were. They're not in their prime anymore. Verlander signs a one-year, $13 million contract, reuniting with the Detroit Tigers in what almost assuredly will be his final season. He's pitched 20 years in the big leagues, 82.2 career wins above replacement. He is the active leader in that category. He's led the league in it 3 times. He's won a Cy Young in 2011, another Cy Young in 2019, and then a third Cy Young in 2022. One of the best pitchers in all of baseball, and a surefire Hall of Famer. That's who Justin Verlander is. Last year, he had a very slow start to his season with the Giants. He ends up pulling it together. Despite not getting his first win until July, he finishes 4-11 with a 3.85 ERA in 29 starts, throws 152 innings. So truly, I mean, it was not that bad of a season for Verlander last year. It was actually much better than his 2024 with the Astros. But because it was a slow start, people perceived it as a bad year, and that's, I think, partially why nobody was really interested in signing Verlander other than the Tigers. I'm kind of surprised the Giants didn't go get him, honestly. I think he would have been very helpful for that rotation. But either way, he's coming back, and I like that he's coming back to the Tigers. Then we got Max Scherzer. Max Scherzer last year, just 0.2 WAR. He did not do very well. He only threw 17 games, 85 innings. He went 5-5 with a 5.19 ERA. He's coming back for his 19th season. And again, a 3-time Cy Young Award winner 2013, and then another one in 2016 and 17. He will be pitching for the Blue Jays again in 2026, returning to Toronto, where he went to the World Series and actually did start a game and was actually pretty decent in the playoffs. That's where he came in clutch. He started 3 games in the playoffs, 14 innings, and ends up with a 3.77 ERA. He started 2 games in the ALCS and 1 game in the World Series with a 1-0 record. So Max Scherzer, can he still do it? I don't know. He signs a 1-year, $3 million contract. Again, both of these guys, legends to the sport. Both of these guys, Hall of Famers. If they had decided to retire, nobody would have slighted them for it. Nobody would have complained, but they both want to come back for 1 more year. And at this point, it's just about love of the game. These guys have made so much money. They do not need the money. They don't need the fame. They don't need the exposure. They don't need the stats to get to the Hall of Fame. They are only doing this for love of the game. And you got to appreciate that when you have players like that who come back year after year after year just because they love the game of baseball so much. So moving over to the NFL, DJ Moore has been traded from the Bears to the Bills, and this is an interesting move. I think, people are going to overreact to this and say, look, Josh Allen finally got his weapon. Josh Allen finally got that receiver that he's been looking for. Truthfully, I don't see it. DJ Moore last year didn't do a whole lot. He caught 50 receptions, which was the lowest of his career, fewest receptions of his career. He does score 6 touchdowns with the Bears. You could say, he was competing for targets with guys like Rome Odunze, but he played all 17 games. His target share dropped to just 85 targets after 6 straight years with over 100 targets over in Carolina and Chicago. Only 85 targets last year at the age of 28, 50 receptions, 682 yards. That's the fewest of his career. He does go for 13.6 yards per reception, which is an improvement from 2024. And again, those 6 touchdowns. I don't know. I wasn't all that impressed by DJ Moore last year. For a guy who played in every single game to not eclipse even 700 yards, he's meant to be a star receiver. I mean, I don't know. I think he's past his prime. I think he's aging poorly. I think he is no longer a wide receiver 1. However, he does improve the offense. Right? I think he improves the offense over in Buffalo. I don't think he necessarily is the player people think he is, right? He's not. This is not Stephon Diggs 2.0. He's not going to go there and be a 1,500-yard receiver or probably even a 1,000-yard receiver. I think he's going to go there and be, a 500-yard receiver. So he's good. He helps the offense. He improves them. I just don't see him being that guy who really elevates the team to like a Super Bowl level. And so at the end of the day, the trade comes for a 2026 second rounder and a 2026 fifth rounder. Personally, I would say, I think in a couple of years, we may look back and say the Bears actually won this trade. I think getting a second rounder for DJ Moore is probably better than they could have expected. I feel like it would have been like a third rounder. So honestly, kudos to the Bears for moving on from him. And the Bills, we'll see if it helps. I'm personally, it's not that I think it's a bad trade. I don't think it's the blockbuster people are making it out to be. Let's talk Falcons for a sec. Kirk Cousins, it sounds like, is going to be released. Supposedly, the Falcons have said they are going to release him, the veteran quarterback, after the first day of the league year. It's a weird move, honestly, from the Falcons. From my perspective, I would have kept him because you don't know if Michael Penix is going to be healthy to play next year, and you need a quarterback. But I guess they're tired of having him on the roster. I think they're tired of paying him. He actually played well last year as a thing. 5-3 record in 8 starts, as only a 61% completion percentage, which was the lowest of his career at 61.7, the lowest since 2013, I should say. But he throws for 1721 yards in 8 starts, 10 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, so a solid touchdown to interception ratio, 84.8 passer rating. I don't know. I thought he played fairly well. I thought he played well enough that he deserves a look to be a starter again. I mean, look at his career. He's a career winning record. He had a winning record as a Falcon. He had a winning record as a Viking. I think he does deserve a look. I think there should be a team out there with a potential room for Kirk Cousins. I don't know who it's going to be. Maybe Minnesota, maybe Pittsburgh if Aaron Rodgers doesn't return. Maybe Arizona could have a spot for him. I just think it's weird for Atlanta to get rid of him because, yeah, again, Michael Penix, we don't know if he's going to be healthy or ready to go next year. And if not, it would have been nice to have Kirk on the roster, but I guess that could create. The Falcons are really trying to lean into this Michael Penix thing, and I don't think it's going to work. I think the Falcons are making a mistake going all in on Michael Penix, who is injury prone, who's not very good, he's inconsistent, and he's not even going to be available to start the season. So essentially, if you're Atlanta, you're punting on the season already. I mean, it's literally March 6th. And I could already guarantee you the Falcons are not going to make the playoffs next year because, again, your quarterback is not going to be available for the first half of the year potentially, and you just got rid of his backup who actually won you 5 games last year. It just seems like a really silly decision, but it's exactly what you'd expect from a Falcons team that also fired its coach after winning 5 of its last 7 games. I mean, that's exactly the type of thing you don't do. You don't fire a coach with momentum. You don't fire a coach that the locker room believes in. But that's exactly what the Falcons did, and they replaced him with a guy who got fired in Cleveland. I don't think Atlanta, what they're doing makes no sense at all, and I think they're going to continue to suffer from that. Look, again, they were building momentum. With Kirk and Raheem Morris, they won 5 of their last 7 games. They were tied for the lead in their division. They went 8-9. If they had won one more game, they'd have been in the playoffs, and the whole thing looks different potentially. But instead, they're getting rid of their quarterback. They're getting rid of their coach. They're going to start fresh with an injury-prone, not good quarterback. Again, Falcons, what are you doing here? I don't get it. But either way, that kind of just seems to be par for the course with Atlanta. So let's talk franchise tag. Only 2 players this year actually being franchise tagged. And again, one of them on the Falcons, Kyle Pitts, was franchised by the Falcons. He actually played pretty well last year, 928 yards, 5 touchdowns, 88 catches. For a tight end, those are good numbers. And he played well with both Michael Penix Jr. He also played well with Kirk Cousins at quarterback. He hasn't had a great career, so I understand why they would do this. They want to see if they can get him for one more year of production. They don't want to give him that long-term contract just yet, but I get why this is happening, and I do think potentially he could be a good player moving forward. We'll just have to see what happens there. And then George Pickens also being franchise tagged by the Dallas Cowboys. Cowboys making the move on Friday, last Friday that is. He had a career year, 1,429 yards, 84.1 yards per game, 93 receptions, 9 touchdowns on 137 targets. He had a great season. He actually probably eclipsed CeeDee Lamb. That duo is the second most expensive wide receiver duo in the league. However, this is a good move. And again, Cowboys want to see, was last year a fluke, or is it worth it to pay Pickens a huge contract? If it was a fluke, it makes sense why they would want a franchise tag. And we got Breece Hall. Breece Hall receiving that franchise tag as well for the Jets if they can't agree upon a long-term deal. So I'm not sure if they've officially made it happen yet, but if they can't agree to a deal, he will be franchise tagged. Another one who he's had an up-and-down career, but ultimately a good player, and I think the Jets would like to pay him long-term. But if they can't come to that deal, if they can't come to that agreement, they're going to give him the tag. Notably, Daniel Jones used a transition tag. The Colts used a transition tag. What that means is he's allowed to continue negotiating a long-term deal with the Colts. He's also allowed to negotiate with other teams, but the Colts have the right to match any offer he receives. So what this means is that essentially Daniel Jones can negotiate with other teams And then if another team, let's say the Cardinals, offer him a bigger contract than the Colts, but the Colts really want to keep him, they can then basically say, hey, we'll match that and we will pay you whatever the Cardinals are paying you if you want to stay here. So that's pretty much how that's going to work for him. Really high likelihood he does stay in Indianapolis. And again, is he going to be ready for day one? I'm not sure. He says he expects to be ready for training camp. We'll have to see what happens there. But that's where we're at with Daniel Jones. So the Patriots announcing they're going to be releasing Stephon Diggs. Makes sense, right? Stephon Diggs actually had a good season last year, which is the shame, but he ends up kind of having some accusations against him, potentially some abuse allegations, not the sort of thing that you want to come out about yourself. He had a good season again last year. He bounced back, played all 17 games, 1,013 yards, 4 touchdowns. Didn't really find the end zone a whole lot, but he was a good veteran presence to have there for Drake May. He caught 85 passes. But I think at the price and considering the allegations against him, it's not worth it to keep him around. There's a PR strategy there as well. You don't want to have a player on your team who's going to cause a media storm or media controversy, and that's probably exactly what would happen. Of course, nothing has been confirmed yet or about Stephon Diggs, but when you have character allegations like that, it's definitely hard to stick around. And even when you're a good player, like Stephon Diggs is, he's also a veteran. He's been around the sport for a long time, and the Patriots, they just don't want that noise going into next season, so I understand why they would do it. He probably will be signed by another team, but I wouldn't be so sure. Again, because of those accusations against him, it's possible he ends up going unsigned and maybe his career is over. So I want to talk about the Browns now because apparently the Browns are in very much Browns fashion. The Browns are considering, this doesn't even make sense to me why they would consider doing this. The Browns are considering holding a QB battle this offseason between Shedeur Sanders and Deshaun Watson. Yeah, Deshaun Watson. The same Deshaun Watson who they paid $250 million to barely play for them. Deshaun Watson who can't stay on the field. He can't stay healthy. Who also has so many allegations against him for all sorts of sexual misconduct. Deshaun Watson who probably shouldn't be in the league anymore. As a Cleveland Brown, he went 3-3 in 6 starts in 2022 after his 11-game suspension. In 2023, he went 5-1 in 6 starts before getting hurt and missing the rest of the season. In 2024, he went 1-6 in his 7 starts before getting hurt and missing the rest of the season. So in total, he is 9-10 as a Cleveland Brown with 19 touchdowns, 12 picks, 3,365 yards in 19 games, 61.2% completion rate. Not really good stats. His QB rating as a Brown is 80.7. Or that's his passer rating, 80.7. So as a starting quarterback for the Browns, he has played about as well as a backup. And then there's Shedeur. Shedeur, who I'm not going to lie and say he was good. He was technically a Pro Bowler. He didn't play well last year. He started 7 games. He was 3-4. He had a 56.6% completion rate, 7 touchdowns, 10 picks, a passer rating of 68.1, 1,400 yards. He was maybe the worst starting quarterback in the NFL last year. Shedeur Sanders was. This doesn't make any sense. If you're the Browns, why would you? They're going to let 2 of the worst current active quarterbacks compete for their starting job? Why would they not bring somebody else in? I don't know. I don't get it. Why would they even keep? I get that they want to prove. I mean, at this point, look, there's 1 year left on the Deshaun Watson contract. Just eat the money. Just eat the money. Don't let it. Why would you let him get back out on the field? It makes no sense. It makes no sense at all to let him back on the field. And it also makes no sense at all to let Shedeur say, I mean, look, I know he's young. Maybe he has potential. He was a 5th-round pick who struggled last year. That doesn't scream starting quarterback long-term. But the Browns are going to do what the Browns do. If there's any team more incompetent than the Falcons, it's the Browns. Honestly, that's kind of where we're at with the Browns. Every single thing they do, every single decision the Browns make seems to be the wrong one, and I think this is again the wrong one for Cleveland. Sucks for them, but that's where they're at right now. I don't get it. It baffles me. This truly baffles me. It does sound like Trey Hendrickson is officially going to be gone from the Cincinnati Bengals. Trey Hendrickson, obviously, probably the best pass rusher in the NFL right now, and he is and not franchise tagged by the Bengals, and it does look like he would like to leave Cincinnati. He wants to get paid. Last year, he only ended up playing 7 games for the Bengals. He was he didn't really do a whole lot for the Bengals last year. He had 1 pass defended, 4 sacks, 8 quarterback hits. He had an approximate value of 3, but before that, in 2024, he was an All-Pro, first-team All-Pro. He was the runner-up for Defensive Player of the Year. He led the league with 17.5 sacks. At 32 years old, it's going to be interesting to see what kind of contract he gets, considering he missed 10 games last year, considering the numbers were way, way down last year. I don't know what kind of contract he can get. I think he can get a multi-year deal. I'm not sure if it's going to be at the monetary value that he would like it to be at, but I do think he can get a long-term deal. And I think ultimately for a guy like Trey Hendrickson, it's about securing your future. You've proven it. You're on a Hall of Fame-ish trajectory. So for him, it's about securing your future, securing your legacy. Unfortunately for him, I don't think that happens in Cincinnati. And how about this? We have some trade news. Trent McDuffie has been traded from the Chiefs to the Rams for a first-round pick, the number 29 overall pick. That is interesting that the Rams view Trent McDuffie that important. It's crazy what cornerbacks are going for these days. I mean, you look at the Sauce Gardner trade, and he was traded for 2 first-round picks, and now Trent McDuffie, in his 5th season, he's a really good player. This is a really good player. For first-round value, that's incredible. I didn't think he would get a first-round pick. I mean, he did play very well. He was an All-Pro in 2023. He was a second-team All-Pro in 2024. Last year, 13 games, 1 interception. I mean, yeah, that's the wild thing. He only had 7 passes defended and 1 interception. Those stats don't jump off the page to you, but I think it's because he's such a shutdown corner that people don't even throw his way. He did have a huge impact on that Kansas City defense, but I get it. I get why the Rams are doing it. The Rams are going for it this year. They are going for it. I think they remember having Jalen Ramsey and how elite it was to have him, how much that mattered to them. So I think they remember that. And yeah, the Rams are truly there going for it. They want to win it all. Stafford is probably on his last couple of years. They want to win another championship with Matt Stafford. So they're going out, getting Trent McDuffie. They're going to go all in. And the Chiefs, I think, are kind of retooling. I think they realize they might not have a fully healthy Mahomes. They might not have a fully healthy Kelsey. It's a little bit of a retooling year for them. So they're going to go and get another first-round pick. They'll now have the 29 pick and I think the number 20 pick, something like that. So they have a couple of picks in the first round that they're going to be able to use to improve their roster and kind of have a little bit of a retooling year. So I get why this trade works. I think it works for both sides very well. I am still a little bit in shock that he was able to get a first-round pick, but that's what the Chiefs do. They find good players and they make good trades. They make smart trades. Both of these teams are very smart, so I do anticipate this working out for both of them. Let's move over to baseball, though, because the WBC is underway. The first 4 games we're going to recap through, beginning with Australia against Taiwan, or also known as Chinese Taipei. Taiwan's lineup anchored by Stuart Fairchild. He's kind of their leadoff guy. Australia led off by Travis Bazzana and Curtis Mead. Travis Bazzana, of course, the number 1 overall pick in the MLB, and Curtis Mead, who is has had significant playing time for the Rays. Both of them going 2 for 4. Bazzana with a run scored and RBI. Bottom of the 5th, Australia gets the scoring going with a Robbie Perkins home run off of, not sure who that was, but Rickson Wingrove scores, and that makes it 2-0. And then in the 7th, Bazzana, he adds a home run of his own to make it 3-0, and Australia does get the win there. So Australia with the first win of the WBC, and that's a big time win for them, because in this pool, in Pool C, you got to finish top 2 in your pool, and Australia is going to have an opportunity there to finish top 2 after beating Taiwan in this opening game. Next up, we have Czechia against Korea, and Czechia struggled in this one. Korea 11-4 with a huge win. It started off in the bottom of the first inning. Bo Gyung-moon hitting a grand slam into center field, giving Korea a very early 4-0 lead. They held on to that and just completely soared. Shea Whitcomb with a home run. That makes it 6-0. That would be a 2-run home run. Make it 6-0. Taran Vavra hits a home run for Czechia, actually. A 3-run bomb. That makes it 6-3. Then Shea Whitcomb with a second home run for Korea makes it 8-3. Another 2-run bomb. Then Jahmai Jones with a home run. There's a ton of home runs in this game. One, two, three, four home runs for Team South Korea, or Korea, South Korea, whatever. One home run for Team Czechia. Czechia, to their credit, they score a couple of runs. This is a team from Czechia that there's such long shots to win this. Daniel Patisak was their starting pitcher, I believe, and Daniel Patisak is a guy who I don't know if he has played at all in the MLB or minors. Yeah, he has not. So just it's tough when you have a guy out there who just has no big league experience going up against a really good roster. Haesung Kim for Korea ends up going 0 for 3 with an RBI. And then Jung-Hoo Lee, their center fielder, also plays for the Giants. He goes 2 for 4 with a run scored and a walk. So he had a nice little game for himself for the Koreans. And again, yeah, South Korea, this is a team that will also be contending for a spot in those quarterfinals. Czechia, I don't think they're going to be moving on after this one. And right after losing to South Korea, Czechia has to go play again. They play Australia, and Australia with a 5-1 win. So Australia now is 2-0. Czechia now is 0-2. So that's probably it for Czechia in this tournament. It's really hard to climb out of an 0-2 deficit. They'd probably have to win 3 straight games, and they still have to play Japan. So, bottom line, for Czechia, again, probably this is it. For Australia, though, another good game. Curtis Mead had a great game, going 2 for 4 with 3 runs batted in and a run scored. He actually hit a 3-run home run in the third inning, which is what gave Australia the lead. Czechia did strike first. They struck first to take a 1-0 lead, but then it was Australia all the way from there, and they end up getting the job done. They score a couple of runs. Alex Hall with a home run in the 9th inning, and then Jared Dolly with an RBI triple in the 9th inning as well. So Australia scores 2 more in the 9th to pad their lead, winning 5-1. So for Australia now, it's going to come down to whether or not they can beat Korea, most likely, if they want to get a spot into those quarterfinals. Because again, you got to be in the top 2 in your pool to get to the quarterfinals. This pool does include Japan, who almost certainly is going to be number 1. Taiwan, Czechia, Australia, and Korea are the other 4. So for Australia, it'll probably come down to, can you beat Korea? If you can, they'll move on. If not, probably they won't move on. It'll probably end up being Korea that moves on. But that's where they're at right now. Australia is off to a nice little start in this tournament. And finally, Japan with a huge win over Taiwan. They mercy ruled them 13-0 just in 7 innings. And Japan scores 10 runs in the 2nd inning. They set a World Baseball Classic record. Never before in the WBC has there been a 10-run inning. My goodness, man. Japan is just too good. Ohtani going 3 for 4. Checking out some of his key moments. Oh, yeah, he had a grand slam in the 2nd inning. Munetaka Murakami, Shugo Maki, and Sosuke Genda, all of them scoring. Masataka Yoshida then with an RBI double to score Anko Lin and Seiya Suzuki. Then Munetaka Murakami with an RBI single, Sosuke Genda with an RBI single, Kenya Wakatsuki with a single, an RBI single, and then another RBI for Shohei Ohtani. That was all in the 2nd inning. Finally, in the 3rd inning, they get a couple of more. They scored 3 more runs in the 3rd inning off the bats of Kazumo Okamoto, Sosuke Genda. So yeah, just all sorts of nonsense for Team Japan. Look at these. You look at the numbers: 3 hits for Ohtani, 2 for Masataka Yoshida, 3 for Genda, Seiya Suzuki with a hit and 2 runs scored and a walk. The entire Japanese lineup was just all sorts of dominant. Yamamoto, interestingly enough, he started this game for them. So they brought their ace out to pitch in the first game, which I thought was interesting because you'd think maybe they would save him, but nope, they throw out the ace. Yoshinobu Yamamoto, he only goes 2 2/3. He didn't need to do much more than that. 2 2/3 for him with 2 strikeouts and 3 walks. And then they bring in another MLB name, Shoma Fujihara, who I believe just signed with an MLB team. Am I right about that? Maybe I'm not. And he throws very well as well. So Team Japan, I mean, this team, they are a powerhouse in the World Baseball Classic. They are one of those teams that they will be considered a front runner. Can they repeat? That's the question for them, really. Can they repeat their title? If they can, they really prove that they're the best baseball country in the world. Right now, I still think Team USA is the favorite, but Japan is right there, and that's a dominant way to start your tournament off. Second in baseball, I want to talk really quick about Connor Griffin on the Pirates. A lot of people are really hyping up this prospect, and I want to know, like, is the hype real? Connor Griffin, look, most rookies don't end up being incredible, but right now he's MLB's number one prospect, and he's been playing very well in spring training. He's belting home runs. He already has 3 home runs, 6 RBI, a 1.124 OPS, and 857 slugging in spring training with a 7.2 opponent quality, which is solid. It's not great, but he's doing well against good players. The thing is, he hasn't played above Double A yet. He's only has 98 plate appearances at the Double A level, so he really has barely played in Double A. Is he going to make an impact this season for the Pirates? Maybe, but he's very young. So I would say if you are really excited about Connor Griffin, it's cool. He's really talented. I would say hold your horses right now. Don't get too excited for this year if you're a Pirates fan, just because, again, he's very young and he's barely even played above the Double A level. For some players, it doesn't matter. We'll have to see if it matters for him. And Jurickson Profar has been suspended again by the MLB for violating Major League Baseball's performance-enhancing drugs policy. This is going to be a full-year suspension for him. What an idiot. What an idiot, man. I'm sorry. I have no respect for you if you're going to do stuff like that. It just seems so dumb to me, right? It's so dumb. Why in the world? He already got popped. He already got popped when he was with San Diego. He still signs a $45 million contract with the Braves. Now he's going to lose all of his money. He's not going to get to play. He's also not going to allowed to represent his country of the Netherlands in the World Baseball Classic, which I know he was looking forward to doing. The whole thing just screams like, dude, you're an idiot. And it makes sense. I mean, the 2 best seasons of his career, and he was juicing in both of them. So what do you know? But yeah, man, I feel for the Braves a little bit because they signed him and they paid him a lot of money. But at this point, the money is voided now. They don't have to pay him. It's $15 million that they save, $15 million that he doesn't get, and he won't be eligible to play again until 2027. And by that point, he'll be 34, coming off of back-to-back drug suspensions. Hard to see how he's going to salvage anything from his career after this one. Let's talk NBA, and let's specifically talk about Con Knuppel. This guy is having a season right now. How about this? He has the most 3 points of any rookie, and this season still has 20 games to go. He's only played in 62 games. He's already hit more 3 points than any rookie in NBA history. That is just amazing. And he's going to continue to add on to that. Right now, he's averaging 8 3-point attempts per game, 3.5 3 points made per game. He's averaging 3.4 assists. He's averaging 19.2 points per game. He is having just an absolutely incredible season. And, it makes me think, 216 is his total. It makes me think, should he be in the Rookie of the Year discussion a little bit more right now? I mean, right now, if you look at the NBA Kia rookie ladder, he is on top right now. But I feel like people right now are still not really taking him seriously as the best rookie in the NBA. Most people still saying Cooper Flagg is maybe the best rookie in the NBA. No, I think it is definitely Con Knuppel right now over in Charlotte. What he's doing in Charlotte is honestly really, really impressive. He's separating himself from the rest of the field. He was the number 4 draft pick, so it makes sense. But yeah, he's been really, really good. Cooper Flagg's been good as well. But right now, if I had a vote, my vote would be for Con Knuppel. Moving over to college hoops, I want to talk about Miami, Ohio really quick. I mean, look, this team is undefeated, 30-0. They need to be in your at-large field. And I get it. The Ken Palm rankings, what are they? Where are they at in the Ken Palm rankings? I don't know. But does it matter? Does it matter where they're at in the Ken Palm rankings? Right now, Miami, Ohio is 88th in the Ken Palm rankings. So according to this, if they lose their conference tournament, they could go 32-1. If they lose in the finals for the MAC, they should be out of the tournament completely. And that's what people are saying. That's what legitimate analysts are saying. I personally disagree. I just don't get it. I don't get why you would really want to have like a losing record team from the Big Ten in there and not one of the best teams in the sport. I mean, they're 27 and they're 30-0. They're perfectly undefeated. According to the net rankings, they actually are 53rd. So the net rankings would have them there, which is interesting. Interesting enough that the net would place them there. But yeah, Ken Palm does not put them in that position. The AP poll has them way higher. The AP poll, I believe, has them in the top 20 right now. And yeah, right now the AP, they're 19th in the AP poll. So I don't know, man. To me, I think they should be in. I don't even think it should be a conversation. If you go 32-1, you lose your conference tournament. You should at least get to be like a 13 seed. Like, come on. There's 68 teams in this tournament. We can't make room for a team that's currently undefeated. That seems absurd to me, but I don't know. I want to check in real quick on the women's basketball, the women's NCAA basketball, and the top 25 right now. UConn, also undefeated. So we have an undefeated team for the men and an undefeated team for the women. UConn with all 31 first place votes. They are 31-0, 775 points. Currently ranked number 1 by the AP. UCLA is number 2, South Carolina number 3, and Texas number 4. It seems like pretty much the standard, like, yep, the same teams that are always good in women's basketball are still really good. It is interesting. Iowa State has completely fallen off, though, without Caitlin Clark. But, yeah, UConn, probably the best, most dominant women's basketball program of all time. And right now, they are the favorites to win it all once again. It's very hard to pull off an undefeated season, so I wouldn't be surprised if somebody does get them. I think if anyone does, I think it would be South Carolina. I think South Carolina plays really well. They play really powerful. And I think they have what it takes to get past UConn. But right now, UConn has to be considered the favorites. They're undefeated. They're winning every game they play. And they're doing it in very dominant fashion. Before I wrap up the show, I want to talk about something a little bit more controversial. And I wasn't sure if I was going to bring this up today, but I think I'm going to. And that's the U.S. men's hockey team and kind of what went down between them and the women and everything there. Truthfully, look, it's never in good taste to joke about your own teammates. And that's what they are. I mean, Team USA at the Olympics, they are teammates. They're not enemies. There's no bad blood between the women's and men's team. And I understand the president made a joke on the phone, and it stirred up a lot of controversy. I don't think the guys on this hockey team truly feel that way about their women's teammates. I don't think they do. I think they went out and kind of showed that when they went on the Tonight Show and they went on the SNL, and I think they proved that, yeah, we are friends with them, and we don't agree with that joke that the president made. And I've been very inspired by the reaction by a lot of fans and saying, yeah, like, people are calling that out. And I think it's good. We need to call that out. We need to call out when, the president says something stupid. And that's kind of what happened here. I think, unfortunately, the men's hockey team, it was a victim to the president's stupidity. And unfortunately, they kind of suffered a little bit of a PR blow for it, when really, how many of them truly believe what the president is saying? I don't know. I would like to believe not many of them. I would like to believe that. I don't know. I hate to think that there's athletes who really view a women's hockey team as inferior, considering they've won more than the men's team has. They've won more golds. I mean, they've done much more for their country than this men's team has done. And finally, before we wrap the show, I want to talk about one more Olympic news story. It sounds like the Winter Olympics might be considering getting rid of the sledding sports in 2020, starting in 2034. So they're already locked in 2030. But after that, it is possible that bobsleigh, luge, and skeleton could be on the docket, which is very interesting. They could be on the chopping block. Supposedly, the Olympics is also considering adding some indoor sports to the Winter Games. Right now, the rule is it has to be snow and ice. They might change that. They might allow a sport like handball or indoor volleyball to be moved to the Winter Games. They would then get rid of a sport like luge, skeleton, bobsleigh. Now, Germany, of course, would suffer the most. They are the most dominant sport, the most dominant team in this sport. So it would really suck for the Germans. They probably would lose most of their medals at the Winter Games. They are fighting very strongly to keep it around. I hope it does. I hope it stays around. I agree that you should probably consider adding some other sports, like some indoor sports. I'd love to see bowling join the Winter Olympics. I'd love to see some handball action in there. I think there's a space for that. I think there's a place for that. And it'll kind of help combat the Summer Games that are just so big now. So give some more love to the winter. At the same time, I think bobsleigh, luge, skeleton, I think they're cool sports, and they don't really get much love outside of the Olympics. If they're not in the Olympics, it's pretty much the death of the sport itself, because nobody's watching bobsleigh outside of the Winter Olympics. And so, yeah, it's one of those things where I hope it stays simply because the history of it is so important. And if you lose that, you probably lose the entire sport itself, which would suck. It would suck for fans of the sport. It would certainly suck for the country of Germany, who has dominated this sport for so long on a global stage. And that's going to wrap this up for our show. Thank you so much for watching. As always, if you like the show, leave a comment. Drop a comment down below. Let us know, what do you like? What do you not like? What do you want to hear more about? What do you want to hear less about? As always, my name is Levi, and this has been Coast to Coast Sports.